Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beth and Deb Show. It's been a little while since we've been doing this.
Yeah, we've missed you guys.
Yeah, and we're excited to be back with such a riveting topic.
Riveting. Burnout. Maybe that's why we took a break. Were we both feeling a little burnt out?
I'm pretty sure. I'm glad we're back.
It happens all the time to the best of us.
So now that we've experienced it personally,
We can talk about it
to the world.
firsthand.
Hey everyone, I'm Beth, and this is Deb.
She didn't even let me say my own name. This is so difficult.
Trying to be kind and introduce your gloriousness.
It's true. Okay,
Let's start with burnout.
talking about burnout. What do you think about burnout? What is it?
Yeah, I think that's the first thing for folks to, if you're feeling really tired, just really emotionally exhausted, right? So when I think about burnout, it's not just, gosh, I've had a long day at work. It's like this sort of chronic, overwhelmed feeling of just emotional exhaustion. I don't feel like doing anything. I'm facing even small things with this sense of dread.
Yes.
Right? What do you think about when you're defining burnout for people?
Yes, exactly that. Kind of just the sense of not having the energy, like you've given all of your energy to things throughout the day that were not very, either not fulfilling or just felt like obligations. And then maybe in the evening when you do have time to do things that you want, would actually enjoy for yourself, you just don't have the energy. So you end up scrolling through social media or just binging on Netflix, and then you go to bed, and then you just do it all the next day. And there's never a feeling of like enjoying the things that you're doing in your life. It's just kind of like going through all the motions.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of folks that I talk to also that just don't even have the energy when they wake up.
Yeah.
Right? It's like they just wake up feeling exhausted. And it is almost this thought process of, I don't think I can do another day.
Yeah.
Right? So if we are a person who might be experiencing this in either our personal life or our professional life, and maybe even both, right?
Mm-hmm.
You come to this point of, yeah, everything you're describing really sounds like me. I think I've actually used that word burnout before. What is one thing that you kind of tell folks is the first step? I've realized it, and now what do I do?
Yeah, so first I think it's raising your awareness, like getting off of the autopilot of what you're normally doing. Because like what you've been normally doing is obviously leading to burnout.
Yeah.
So first of all, it's just kind of like taking a step back, deciding this is something I'm going to give my attention to so that I can change my normal patterns and habits to be more promoting of my own well-being and revitalizing my energy. And so I know you were kind of talking about when you work with clients, you have them do the what's on your plate exercise, right? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the ways to start to evaluate how do I help my level of burnout is to realize everything that you have on your plate and all the things that you put on your plate, right? So I think we all have tasks that we have to do, right? It's either a part of our job or, a part of our kind of family life or whatever that might look like, chores around the house or, doing your daily work at your job or on your team if you're an athlete. So there are certain things you have to do, right? And so I tell folks to just start jotting all of those things down. Like these are all of the things I have to do. So things you put on your to-do list, things that you have in your mind that you don't necessarily put on your to-do list. And so you write out sort of all of the things on your plate, right? And then the harder thing, and I know you experience this too with clients, is that then you have to take a hard look at the things that you put on your plate that aren't necessarily on there because someone else has told you need to have it on there, but more like, I'm going to put on my plate the illogical need to always turn things into my professor 3 days before the deadline. Or I have to spend an extra 3 hours on this assignment that I know isn't a huge deal, but I need to be perfect, or I need to prove that I am worthy of being here. And so I take on all these illogical expectations,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I have to show up wearing full makeup and full dress, and it takes me 3 hours to get ready to go to this performance I have. It's like all of these extra things that we take on,
Mm-hmm.
those are sometimes the harder things for folks to realize.
Yeah, things that are maybe more about like not being able to set boundaries with other people. If someone else asks you for something and you feel obligated to do it because that's what a nice person would do, not protecting your own time, putting other people's needs ahead of your own, just kind of things that can be negotiated, but often, we just kind of do it unthinkingly, or we want to be perceived in a certain way. Oftentimes when we do set boundaries, other people might not like that because you're not as available to them as you always have been. But I think those are the hard steps that go along with preventing burnout. But maybe we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves.
No, but I love that. I think it's great. I think it's a really important tie for people to hear that sometimes your burnout, maybe often your burnout, is associated with your difficulty in setting boundaries.
Yeah.
Right? Your people pleasing, maybe,
Yes.
your level of perfectionism, your fear of conflict. I mean, I think all of those things are very real contributors
Mm-hmm.
to this issue of burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah. So should we go there, or do you want to go to filling your cup?
Yeah, I was going to say about the list. The plate is a great activity. Also, sometimes it's helpful for people to just, like, if they can't think of all the things that they actually have to do, just take a look at their actual week and chunk out their time. Like, what am I spending my time on each day? And like, how much of my time is filled up? And then color code that with things that deplete your energy versus things that are rejuvenating you and like replenishing your energy. So that could be like what's emptying my energy cup and what's filling it back up, because we need both of those things to balance. If we're always just pouring things out from ourselves for other people or other tasks, things that just drain our energy, then of course we're not going to have anything left at the end of the day. So you might have on there, okay, well, last night, I watched 3 hours of Netflix, and technically that wasn't like draining me, but it also wasn't filling me up, wasn't like replenishing an important part of myself. It just was kind of like a neutral
just zoned out
activity,
Yeah.
which feels good in the moment, but then it's not really having a positive net effect on your energy levels.
Yeah, so you could use like a highlighter to highlight different things that maybe if the red ones are the things that really deplete you,
Right.
and maybe the green ones that you can underline that say, actually, I need to be doing more of these things because I feel energized by it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then like whatever color for neutral things that are just kind of like in the middle.
Yeah.
And there should be a nice balance, right? Like when you look at your week, it shouldn't just all be red or just red and neutral. There should be plenty of times in there for things that are really you're feeling good about, and those self-care activities that it's a buzzword right now. And while bubble baths and chocolate are good, when I think about self-care, I think about really caring for myself in terms of exercise, healthy foods, making time for things that kind of help me express myself creatively, or whatever it is for you that really kind of gets you back in touch with things that you're excited about, things that give you energy. It's different for every person.
I think one thing I also thought about as we were chatting is thinking about your week and when is your most productive time.
Mm-hmm.
For me, burnout comes when I feel like I can't get enough done on my to-do list, and then the list of things continues to add. And so thinking about what am I spending the bulk of my most productive time doing, right? So now that we, work from home some days, it's easy to wake up, get the kids off to school, and then be like, okay, well, I've got to do the dishes, and I've got to tidy up the house, and I've got to do this stuff, when really my most productive time is right in the morning. And so some of these strategies of realizing your most productive time, realizing what fills you up, and then trying to be strategic about making more of your week look more like you want it to look.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it's definitely an intentional change instead of just reactively saying, oh, well, I feel the pressure of doing the dishes right now, so I got to do them.
Yeah.
It's like the dishes aren't going anywhere. How about do your most difficult tasks, like you said, the things that take the most mental energy from 9 to 11 or whatever it is, and then take a break for dishes and take a walk. And then maybe, I know for me, if I do that, then my afternoon is way more productive too. If I take a little mental break instead of just kind of forcing myself to push through. Yeah.
So let's talk real quick here at the end about just setting boundaries, right? And I want to talk about specifically setting boundaries when it doesn't feel like it's an easy boundary to set, right? Where maybe our relationship with that person or those folks suggests that I'll just do it, right? I'll fill in the gap. I'll fill in the workload. It feels hard to kind of go against what our relationship has always been to do something that maybe I've known for a little while I should be doing, that I know it's contributing to my burnout. How do I go about having that shift?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's think of an example. So say if you have a friend who, oh my gosh, every time something comes up, your friend is immediately on the phone with you or saying, oh my gosh, have you, boy, I had a day, or wait till you hear about what they did this time.
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's going to be another hour. You're going to take on the emotional toll of your friend as well. And that, for most of us, that's part of our role as a friend, is being there when somebody needs you. But perhaps you are the person within your friend group that everybody, and as psychologists, we maybe know what that is.
It's a therapist on your forehead.
Somebody, they just think, oh, well,
I'm just going to
know how to handle this. So I think that's a difficult situation because you want to be a great friend. You care about this person, but you may not have the mental and emotional space for that all the time. So how would you maybe go about negotiating a boundary in that situation?
Well, one of the things that I have recommended to clients in the past is just don't answer the phone.
Okay.
I mean, that seems, maybe that feels a little cruel, or maybe you're like, I don't know whether I should do that or not. What if my friend's really in crisis? I think it's harder to get off the phone once you're on.
Yeah.
Right? But if you can sort of like take a breath and say, actually, okay, this person's calling and I really need to focus and get this piece done, right? So I might sort of screen that call and say, I'm gonna push pause on that right now because what I need to do is get this done. And if I don't get it done, I'm worried I won't have the energy to get it done, or I won't have the focus, or whatever that might be. So really, the first boundary is to say, I don't have to be available to everyone at every moment of the day.
Right.
I mean, back in the olden days. Right? I mean, you didn't have you weren't available to everyone all the time. You didn't have a cell phone.
Right.
I mean, you didn't have something that you carried around with you throughout the house in your pocket.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I say is just take a moment to realize, is right now the right time for me to have this conversation?
Yeah.
And if you're like just binge watching Netflix, you can push pause and that's fine.
Sure.
But if you really have something happening now, just realize you don't have to be available all the time.
Yeah, you can even, if you're really trying to get something accomplished, even if it's like your time for yoga or taking a walk or something where you want to focus on yourself or focus on a task that you need to get done, have a phone-free break. Put your phone away. Oh my gosh, does that feel anxiety provoking a little bit? Maybe, but just try it out. Give yourself an hour, put your phone away. Don't, because the more we have our phone around and we see, it's buzzing, or I saw it light up with a notification, and now your brain's going to be thinking, I wonder if something's going on that I need to pay attention to. So just put it away and allow yourself some mental freedom.
Yeah, because the alternative isn't better, right? So let's say you're in the middle of doing this project you're working on. You pick up the phone because you feel like you have to, and then you spent an hour,
right?
And then afterwards you're resentful.
Yeah, and you're like, another hour of my time. I think
that's not better.
No, that's not.
Yeah, that's not being a better friend, right? Well, I was there for her, but then I hated her afterward.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. And I also think it's worthwhile to maybe set boundaries directly with people and say, hey, I know, like, I want to be there for you as a friend, but could we try, like, you just asking, like, instead of just immediately assuming that I'm available all the time, just say, hey, do you have time to talk right now? Or, like, do you have the energy to let me vent for a little while?
Yeah.
Instead of, like, resentfully approaching your friend and saying, and, just being like, you never respect my time and you're always using me as your vent. Maybe your friend just doesn't realize and they need you to let them know what you need out of the situation. Maybe they just don't understand how it affects you. So being able to have that communication is really important when it comes to kind of like the emotional burnout of dealing with other people in your life.
I think it can also be helpful if hey, I only have this amount of time to kind of give right now, to just say when there's a pause, like, hey, I'm so glad that you called me. I'm glad that we can have this conversation. My next thing is at 11:30. And so I have like 20 minutes, but I'd be happy to chat with you later tonight after I get finished with some things. Right. So that can sometimes be an easy way to set some boundaries and some expectations.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the most important thing about burnout is just understanding that it's going to take an intentional change in your routines and starting to understand, okay, what is it that energizes me about life?
Yeah.
What is it that fills that cup of energy and how can I make more room on my plate for that? Yeah.
So just griping about it and how tired you are is not going to
help me.
I actually have to like intentionally try to do something.
Yeah, which is that's just the truth for any kind of struggle or problem that you have in life. It's nobody's going to come and fix it for you. Nobody's going to, it's not going to be something that goes away on its own in most cases. Unless, you get fired from your job because you're too burnt out. A different set of struggles. So just taking the time up front to do this exercise and start making small changes in your routines over time will help you, recover from that feeling of burnout.
And if you've been feeling really burned out for a long time to the point of you're starting to feel like, hey, this is bigger than just shifting my schedule around, then reach out for help.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? See a therapist, see a psychologist. We've got some great options now that telehealth is kind of becoming widely accepted as an effective treatment of psychotherapy. This is a very reasonable thing for someone to go see a therapist about.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions or topics that you'd like us to cover, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. So until next time. See ya.
Bye-bye. Set a time limit or something like that. So, and people may not like it at first or they may not understand it, but if you approach it from a place where you're not upset, like you're not going into the conversation upset and you're not just like, you've got it. Are you okay? Beth, I'm gonna need to have a boundary setting conversation with you.
Oh my gosh, awesome. You know that moment when you feel like you're gonna die and you're recording a video.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm back.
We probably can cut that out.
Okay. Go back to start.
Yeah. So
oh my gosh. I'm gonna be sweating in a second. Okay. It's okay.
Okay. I can't really remember.
Instead of you started